Doing good.
Thanks for joining today. We're going to be these next few weeks are again crazy, so we'll just have these little sessions whenever we can. Today we're going to be talking about. We talked about this a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, customer service, but I think it definitely warrants having a second conversation with some more people involved in the conversation and topic, and just to kind of give you some recommendations and suggestions on how to handle certain things. Um, Before we get into it, Brian Bradtree, I'm with B&L PC Solutions, based out of Long Island, New York, and I'm joined to my right by who?
I am Groot, or David Groot, with Windstar Technologies in Culpeper, Virginia.
And David Luff with LDD Consulting in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
And Brandon Bowers with BPP Managed Cyber Solutions out of sunny South Florida.
A lot of letters with no vowels. I like it. So again, us as business owners and a lot of people out there are either in the customer service industry or you're providing a level of customer service to your clients. Some of the challenges that I see in our industry specifically is that we're, as MSP owners, managed service provider owners, we wear different hats on the customer service side of things because we're supporting one day. I mean, one minute you could be supporting a CPA firm, then a financial firm, then a car dealership. So the knowledge there has to be pretty versatile. There's nothing too specific and ornate that you're just going to work on, every day behind the desk doing. So the challenge there is meeting the expectations of the customer because they don't know, they don't care. They want whoever they get on the phone to fix their specific problem. Challenges, staffing wise, finding somebody that has the ability and knowledge and customer service skill set to wear those hats is challenging. I think we do a great job at it because we're selling our services as white glove IT service, and this is what we can do for you in this amount of time. Here's our SLAs. So you have to have the right people in place to do that. I dealt with a company 2 weeks ago that we had an issue with, and it went through 4 different people before someone knew what the heck I was even talking about. And you're always thinking. I mean, everyone deals with customer service at some level. Every day, every week. So how do you better your own company? What tools can you use? What vetting can you do for your employees to kind of make that, that whether it be a new hire or training, and that's some of the things we can get into. But, let's go from there. Talk about what do you want to get into, training or current issues faced?
So I also want to make mention, like, what you said was that we're kind of in a unique position in terms of all of our different customers and verticals and things like that. But I'd argue, any business or business owner is going to face these similar challenges in terms of how do we differentiate, how do we grow, how do we retain customers? And at the end of the day, customer service is a big factor in that. The longer you can keep customers around, retain those, the better it is for your business, for the growth of your business in the future. So like, we can talk about tools and different things, but I think for me, customer service is just ultra important, that you understand where you are in your market and where you want to be. And if you want customer service to be one of those factors in how you differentiate, because there will always be a place for the low cost vendor or product, right? To where you call and you're not going to get great support and you're going to get tossed around like the experience you had, Brian. And more than likely, they're not going to keep customers as long as you, me, or David, as an example.
Yeah, my perception in that example that I gave is, you know what? Keep that last guy I talked to. That's all I need. Get rid of everybody else because he's the one that knows, and it seems simple, but it's not.
Which that does go into staffing issues too, and training issues, which I think we should talk about.
That's a knowledge gap is what you're looking at, right?
Yep.
Like that just means what I see when it comes to the customer service in our country lately, it can be in any industry that you're talking about. Obviously, the big issue is the shortage of people, right? And And then, so then what a business owner does is they start to try and, we'll say mitigate, right? Like we talk about risk, but let's just talk about, mitigating that service. And so you also have potentially a recession. So interest rates are going up, borrowing money's tougher, they're a little bit tighter on the finances. And then a company, then what do? They want to cut, right? So where do they cut? They cut where it's easiest to cut first, where they don't feel like it impacts anything as heavily as other things, right? So your operational costs, like you got to have the people, you got to do what you got to do. This, got to buy enough product to make this widget. You got to, all that kind of fixed stuff can't really be sliced and diced unless you're going to change how you make the product or the product type or what it's made of. But I can get rid of training. I can get rid of, an HR team, or I can get rid of whatever that might be, small business or large, it doesn't matter. And so as a result of that, what you get are people trying to fight their way through the day, just trying to figure out how to do their job in a lot of cases. Go ahead,
I think that can be true, but so if you adopt customer service as a function of the overall business's culture, and you as leadership determine that customer service is going to be a key differentiator, then as you're making these, I'm going to call these strategic, or maybe they're more tactical in some cases, decisions in terms of like who you're cutting, processes you're cutting, like you're going to have that in mind though. And so if you, that's my perspective, is that you make customer service like part of the operating model. It's one of your core values and how you operate your business. And then you're filtering, every decision you make through that like lens. And well, how is this going to impact customer service? And what do we need to do to make it better? And if we do need to make these cuts, what can we do to mitigate the potential issues that we're going to have? And maybe we don't drop XYZ, or maybe we come up with a different process. I'm not saying that that stuff doesn't ever happen and it's not going to happen, but I think that if leadership firmly believes that like this is going to be one of your core competencies, then you're going to make decisions based on retaining that as part of your business.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And what I'm seeing more so today is through there's a, and again, I don't want to be specific to our industry, but in this example I have to be. There's a lot of acquisitions going on. There's a lot of smaller MSPs being purchased by larger, and some of them are even going national. And I personally have had 3 or 4 phone calls in the last quarter from an MSP that was acquired, and the client or the prospect on the phone to me was literally like, we've been with them for 10 years and everything we did with them, got this person took care of this person took care of that. Now it's outsourced. We can't stand it. It takes a day to do something that took 5 minutes on the phone. So we're seeing a lot of that. We're getting that trickle down to us, which obviously is great for us.
I think it's everywhere.
It is. And I was on the phone last week with somebody that I'd never been asked this specifically before. He asked me, when I call you, who am I speaking with? What are their names and where are they from? Where are they in your office? Are they? He even wanted to know if they were, work from home. Wanted to get that granular with it, which I thought it was a great question. And I, along this topic, I said, they're all employed by me. We do have an after-hours support desk for, people that require 24/7. And then he asked, how are they at customer service? I mean, that was specifically what he had asked me. And I said that, there's some training that we go through and that I've passed along to them every time we at the end of our weekly meeting. My message to them, you could ask any one of them, is make sure the customer can hear you smile on the phone. And that's, and that statement goes a long way, because, like I know when I have somebody on that other end of that phone that I can tell is just happy and smiling. We want to, kind of exude that same messaging and be emphatic about what you do. And that's, you have to find people that can do that, right? So that the hiring challenge is a whole other side of it. But that's what we look for. We look for someone that, this person can follow. And they may need a little bit of training on customer service, but it'll work. Now they're technical as well, and they have this piece, so it fills in, the voids for us.
Definitely the hear you smile thing is a big piece.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And I'm hearing from a lot of people too that just, as you mentioned, the small companies that are getting bought up, that the customers are frustrated now with the new support that's not local or
Mhm.
That's not just in the IT industry. That's software. That's medical.
Exactly.
That's like
Yeah.
like find a local independently owned doctor's office somewhere.
Mhm.
Oh,
Right.
that
And then,
industry's going
and then
through a
sometimes the
pandemic. Yeah.
communication is difficult too because they have a hard time understanding them, and that's frustrating to people too.
What's that?
The
Okay.
communication. Not that I'm not opposed to it, because
No, I
we
know.
have people overseas also, but they work in the evening.
Right, and you know their roles. If they're not client facing, or the expectation is, listen, if it's after hours, if you're upfront about it, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? We're
Right.
not saying that that's a bad thing, but as long as the expectations are there, and then that's fine.
Mhm.
I think there's tools you can use, and this is mainly training, but whether you're outsourcing or not, I'm going back to my first statement. Like, if you're hiring and finding those people and finding partners that work with you that all have kind of the same core values and structure and, end result that you're looking for, as long as you're training and you're uh, managing those expectations with customers as well, I, I think you can get there. I'll give an example of there are businesses that outsource their help desk. Um, I think there is a need for that in certain situations for sure. And the partner you pick is going to be a big determining factor on the end
Yeah,
result, right? In terms of how the customer is going to get impacted, but how you're involved in the process and training them and giving them the same tools that you would train your internal staff, I think is also important. So, like, in the technology community, there's different tools like help desk habits, and there's a few others out there that are teaching techs, quote unquote, right? Like how to smile on the phone, how to deal with an angry customer, and all these different things so that the end user's having a great um, result. The other thing so for me, I got a ton of value out of DeJulius's
good man.
content.
Yeah,
So he
yeah,
wrote that book, Customer Service Revolution, and like one of the pieces that I stole out of that for my business beforehand was he called it Secret Service. And it was like a little book that you would keep on all your customers, and how I would train my staff on this. All of our new hires would hear this. And in Teams, we had a channel called Secret Service. And anytime you were on the phone with a customer and you heard something that you felt like would be a good relationship building opportunity that management or others should be aware of that we could leverage to grow the relationship further, pop it in there. So, hey, you hear Nancy's pregnant. She's going to have a baby in 3 months. Like, plop that in there. There was a death in the family, anything going
yep,
on. Somebody's
yep.
getting married, somebody's daughter, and the more of that information we could get in to make sure that we're keeping up with the connections, it really went a long way. Like, beyond the typical, like, hey, we had a call, they had a good experience or they didn't have a good experience. Like, that can happen from day to day. But when we can make these other opportunities at building that relationship further from just beyond that one interaction of a call where they were probably upset anyways because they were having an issue with their computer or whatever it was, that we can continue growing the relationship. I think that just like catapults your view to the customer from a customer service aspect to another level that others
Yeah.
really just are not doing.
Well, that's
And that
it.
can all be process driven, right? That's training,
Oh yeah,
training your team.
100%. I mean, so talking about the tools that we have, so some of the feedback that I get from on the tech side is every time, and I'm like you, David Root, I want to talk, and you actually all of us will talk to these new vendors, see these new products. Let's get an NFR, let's try it out. And they're like, how much stuff are we going to use? And it's so I take that feedback, and I said, you know what? I said that's a great point. I said let's figure out if we do need it. It kind of just because I will just go and just constantly evaluate, grab these NFRs, try it out, and I still have software that they don't even know about that I'm playing around with. So, but the communication with your own staff and listening to them and just okay, you know what? Yeah, you're the ones that are dealing with this every day. You're having to decide, wait, do I do this or do I do that? Because I have so many options, and I don't mind hearing, even something like that to kind of wake myself up and reevaluate some of the things that we're doing. And then we actually had somebody, because I think you guys do too, when we, every support ticket we handle, as soon as it's closed, the customer gets an email and they can just kind of give a happy face, a straight face or a sad face, and kind of keep us in the loop on how we're doing. I actually had somebody that I have known for a very long time just kind of give not a negative review, but not a positive one. And her comment on the ticket was, "I can't give this an awesome rating because it took him a minute to take care of it, and I didn't have enough time to evaluate how good it was." So you take that for what it's worth, but any feedback is curated and evaluated and looked at, and I just kind of chuckled when I saw that. I'm like, well, it was, I think it's great that we did it that quick internally. I wouldn't say that back to them, but so you get it all from all over the place.
Yeah, I think the tactical feedback is good. Also, eliciting some type of feedback on a more like expanded basis, like, hey, how are we doing? Is everything going okay? Is there anything that we're just missing the mark on that we should be aware of? Another point where you can have like an actual phone call conversation with your customer or in person to dig into that a little bit further from just the day-to-day nuances, again, where they're having an issue with their experience, I think is another important thing that you could embed as part of your services.
Yeah, there's a lot of we have a lot of. I mean, we could talk all day about customer service and what we've done to improve. But at the end of the day, my customer service skills when I talk to a prospect, they're I know the level I need to be at. Staff knows, and we're pretty open about if there's ever a client. Listen, we all know some people are a little noisier than others, but if there's a client that nobody wants to pick up the phone for, then that's a me problem. I need to look and evaluate why. What's wrong here? Are they not a fit for us? And try to do some self-evaluation and make sure that to maintain that positivity and keep those smiles going, they have to the clients have to be also kind of trained by us in a certain way too. Don't let certain things happen. Let's see.
I want to just make a comment. So I mentioned the one book. For me, there were two that I got the most value out of. Well, actually, no, I'm going to use three references. Number one, DeJulius's book, Customer Service Revolution, I think was amazing. There's also a bunch of content that they have for training, and I think he does stuff for EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. I know he does training for, and there's other opportunities. So, like just as a general business, when it comes to processes, customer service, I think they're great. I know you guys saw them speak before, but I've never actually done the training. I did get the book. Book was really good. Is the Disney U training. I think that is a really cool idea. I really want to do the training at some point in my life. I feel like it would be great. But the content out of there was really good. And there's a lot of stories in that book in terms of like how they teach everybody that they're just able to, from any person on the staff, can elevate the experience of a guest there to a whole new level. And they give all kinds of great examples. And the other thing that I don't think a lot of people necessarily think about, but there's a book called, I don't remember the guy's name who wrote it now, but the book's name is Giftology. Okay. And, I think it does tie into customer service to some respect in terms of a lot of times we're out there and I'm not going to give away the whole book, and there's a lot of great content in there, but and many times we're giving pens or little swag that has like our company logo on it and all kinds of things like that, and it doesn't hold a lot of meaning to your customer, right? And so this is what I use our secret service channel for too. So when we've found out that like one of the owners loved a certain bourbon or wine or something else like that. Well, when we're going to give a gift, we're going to give a thoughtful gift, something we know that they're going to like or something that's going to stick around for a while, maybe even branded with their initials or their family's name or crest or something like
Excellent.
that.
Yep.
So every time they're looking at it, they're thinking about, wow, this is like something that Brandon or their team put some thought into, and they actually care about us, and it's not just like going in the garbage, right?
Yeah.
Every single,
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to get used. I got tremendous value out of those 3 books. Again, I know Disney U has training available, and so does the Julius. So from like a not industry specific standpoint, those are I think great places to start if you're not doing anything today. Pick up copies of those books, take a look through it, start getting some, ideas in terms of what you can implement in your processes day to
Yeah.
day.
What about before the hire? Some of the challenges, like how do you know this person is a fit? You know what I mean? Like, is there any tools that you guys use?
It's always hard, and you never know,
Right.
until it happens. You can do
Yeah.
as much as you can to be careful. I can't remember the ideal team player is kind of the process that I follow, which is you're looking for people who are humble, hungry, and smart. And there's key questions and things that you ask as you're going along the way to try and validate, where they're at in terms of those metrics. The other thing that I do, um, top grading, I don't follow the full top grading process. I know there's a lot of people that do and have great things to say about
Yeah.
top grading. It's a very detailed process to go through for hiring, but some of the things that I pulled from that I felt like were really good is during the process of going through the hiring, I like to not always make it in the office
Yeah.
and get out, get their guard down, learn about the person a little bit more. And as like a final interview process, I invite them to dinner with my wife and kids, and they can take their significant other, or if they want to bring somebody with them. And there's just a chance to learn more, connect, and see really how they're like in the real world and not in the office.
We do that same thing where we take them and their wife or their best friend out to dinner, and it's just such a less stressful thing that it really opens them up more.
You really get to see, I think, the true person, at least a little bit of a deeper look than when they come sit in your office with a suit on or, professional clothes. They're very nervous. Their guard
Yeah.
is up. They don't want to say anything wrong. So you get an extra chance to see if you're about to hire crazy or not.
We actually had one time where we took them out to dinner and it found out it wasn't a good fit.
Why would they order?
I can't say.
We do put in, I think we kind of did a little change in how we were putting out our help wanted ads, is because I'm a believer in technically, like we could train you on, we can get you to the level where I need you to be. And we're talking about customer service training. You can kind of tell right away that this is it. You're not going to be able to do that with candidate A, because they don't have what you're looking for. They don't have that sparkiness, that light, whatever it is that if they lack that, then technically they could be great, but it's kind of a letdown, because we really need that. If my guys are not pleasing the client and just in a professional manner, I'm going to hear about it. I'm going to hear the one thing they all know is I don't want to get a phone call where a client is saying they don't want to talk to tech ABC. That can't happen. So know your limits. No, and that could be you're on the phone for a minute with a client. Say, what, I have to get somebody else on this. That's fine. But don't spend 30 minutes on something and say, yeah, I can't do this. Don't know your limits, and that's a key thing too, because no one wants to be on the phone for an hour with a tech while they're not saying anything and they're trying to do something. So and again, we're constantly training, constantly.
And I've found just even going on site on a regular basis, really helps out, because there's things people will tell you when you're there in person that they won't tell you via email or on the phone.
Yeah, we do our laps when we go to clients. Just, you go in there for this, but then just walk through each department and show your face. And sometimes we'll bring donuts or something, just to, if we haven't been there in a while, just again to keep that relationship. Let them know that you're there. I think that's important too. And then I don't think on my list. Hold on. Yeah, I think I hit everything that I just wanted to kind of touch on. Any closing remarks or any last minute things you want to talk about?
I mean, the only thing I would mention is I can't recommend it enough. Pick up a couple of those books and take a look through. I mean, you'll get gold content out of there. And if you're in EO or one of these other organizations that may already be partnered with them, if you can get live training with these guys, phenomenal experience. Yeah.
I'll put links in it when we post this video. I'll put links in it to the books, so people can grab. Cool. All right, guys.
Yeah, good seeing you guys.
Chatting. Until next week. Actually, no, the week after.